this time, the chair recognizes the gentleman from Georgia's 12th District for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Latta, and again, thank you to our witnesses for being with us today. Since I was first elected to Congress, expanding rural broadband and improving cellular service in my district has been among my top priorities, and it sounds like it's the priorities of every member that has asked questions today. It is frustrating when it seems that no matter how many billions of dollars we appropriate towards this mission, it just gets more complicated and it's incomplete. It's almost like we can't do big things in this country anymore. A top priority of mine last Congress was to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse by making sure that the federal broadband maps are as accurate as our broadband mapping is in the state of Georgia. Now I'm concerned about the fees that some state and local governments charge for processing applications and using space in public right-of-ways. I'm concerned that these costs will only increase the cost of deployment and make it hard to provide service to those who need it. Mr. Sappington and Mr. Romano, could you describe typical application fees associated with building broadband infrastructure at the state and local level? And is there a high level of variance between one state and one locality and another?
Well, thank you for the question. One of the things that the FCC's reforms have done is help to standardize the FCC's fees and make them cost-based. And that's one of the things that we're seeking to be made permanent by Congress today, is to eliminate some of those wild disparities that we used to see where fees were not cost-based. Okay.
Thank you. Given these fees, I'm concerned that we will not be maximizing the money we've dedicated for broadband deployment. This money needs to go towards building new networks, not helping local governments. This is especially true for the $42 billion that has been dedicated to the BEAD program. Mr. O'Reilly, why is it necessary to cap fees to state and local governments, that state and local governments charge for deployment under the BEAD program?
So you absolutely have it right. The money should go to the build-out. We have a number of locations that need to be addressed. Households that don't have service, the unserved population needs to be addressed, and that money needs to go for those. And we'll probably at the end of that still have a problem and still have a percentage. So you can't use up the dollars on other functions like permitting fees, permitting applications and everything else that they're trying to overcharge the applicants.
Exactly, and that's why we're here today. We need legislation to correct that. Mr. O'Reilly, when you were on the FCC, you acted to prevent local and state governments from blanket banning the deployment of telecommunications services or facilities. From your perspective, have regions who have been unfriendly to the deployment of such facilities in the past been less responsive in processing permitting applications in a timely manner?
Whenever there is a barrier in the past, whenever there was a problem, you saw the dollars and where the construction would go to somewhere else. The providers would shift dollars to somewhere else, and those communities would suffer. This, what's left is what we're dealing with. The population that needs attention, both on economic reasons and some because of the shifting of attention is really important. So you highlight the issue of how receptivity is the community, how receptive, is the application process, the permitting process is really important to how the dollars will flow.
Well, would you all agree that, when it comes to federal funding, you're dealing with interstate commerce. So all things being equal, shouldn't it be standard reasonable fees across the country?
I agree with that, and I've made that point a number of times, so I agree, absolutely.
Okay. Anyone else object to that?
No, not object at all. I was going to say to the contrary. We were part of the Broadband Deployment Advisory Council or Committee at the FCC when then Commissioner O'Reilly was at the FCC as well. And I think that group, there were a number of us in that group, including NTCA, who supported cost-based fees, so that the actual and direct cost. And I think several of the pieces of legislation here aim to do that as well, and that's welcome.
Okay, well, you have my support to provide legislation that let's get this done, and so America can do big things again. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you. The gentleman yields back.